There are places on Earth where silence feels natural, peaceful, empty, safe, and then there are places where silence feels different. Places where the quiet does not feel empty. It feels deliberate, as if the world is not quiet because nothing is there, but quiet because something is listening. Northern California has its beautiful landscapes, highways, lakes, endless forests. But far to the north, beyond the cities and vineyards, the land begins to change. The air grows colder, the forests grow older, and the mountains begin to rise from the horizon like ancient monuments. One of those mountains stands alone, perfectly symmetrical, a white volcanic cone rising more than 4,000 meters above the forests. Mount Shasta. From a distance, it looks almost unreal, too perfect, too smooth, like something placed there rather than formed. Even the clouds behave strangely around it. Sometimes they form smooth white disks above the summit, perfect lenses of cloud that remain almost motionless in the sky. Lenticular clouds, meteorologists call them, a natural atmospheric phenomenon. But the people who live near the mountain rarely use that explanation. They simply say, when the mountain closes its eye, something beneath the earth begins to wake. For generations, there have been stories about Shasta, stories of strange lights moving along the slopes at night, stories of hikers who vanished in clear weather, stories of people who returned days later, unable to explain where they had been. Most scientists dismiss those stories. Mountains are dangerous places. Weather changes quickly, people panic, but sometimes the mountain leaves something behind. Not bodies, not evidence, just questions. And sometimes those questions reach places where science begins, like a quiet laboratory at Stanford University, far from the mountain, far from the forest, far from the silence, but not far enough. Inside the geophysics laboratory at Stanford, the Earth never stops speaking. Seismic monitors record tiny movements in the crust every second of the day. Thousands of sensors scattered across the planet send data into the network. Most of those signals are meaningless. Distant earthquakes, ocean waves, heavy trucks passing along highways, random motion, noise in the system. But every once in a while, something appears on the screen that is not noise. Professor Amelia Carter noticed it just after midnight. A thin line on the seismic display began to move differently. Not violently, not sharply, but rhythmically. She leaned closer to the screen. The signal repeated again and again, a steady oscillation. 7.8 hertz. Emilia checked the calibration of the instrument. Everything was normal. She opened data from neighboring sensors. The signal appeared there too, which meant one thing: it was real. She watched the waveform for several minutes. Something about it felt wrong, or perhaps too right. Natural earthquakes create chaotic patterns, irregular bursts, messy signals. But this one looked almost clean, organized. Emilia picked up the phone and called two colleagues, Dr. Marcus Lane, volcanologist, field specialist, a man who had spent half his life studying the slow breathing of mountains, and Dr. Aaron Blake, seismic analyst, a quiet mathematician who understood patterns the way musicians understand rhythm. Within minutes, both of them were standing behind her desk. Marcus stared at the screen, his brow slowly furrowed. "That's not magma movement," he said. Aaron leaned closer. He didn't speak immediately. His eyes traced the repeating waves on the monitor. "It's drifting," he finally whispered, "very slowly." Emilia zoomed in on the data. He was right. The frequency was changing, not jumping, not fluctuating, accelerating. 7.9 hertz, then 8.0. Marcus folded his arms. "Where is it coming from?" he asked. Emilia turned the map toward him. A red dot marked the source location. Northern California, a single mountain rising above the forest, Mount Shasta. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Aaron broke the silence. That mountain isn't erupting, he said. No thermal anomalies, no gas emissions, nothing unusual. Marcus kept staring at the screen. That signal shouldn't exist, he muttered. And then the waveform shifted again. 8.2 hertz. A perfectly smooth change, like a heartbeat slowly increasing. Emilia felt a strange chill run through her chest. Not fear exactly, something closer to intuition. If this is a pattern, she said quietly, then something is producing it. Marcus nodded. And if something is producing it, he replied, we need to see it. Aaron looked back at the map, at the single white mountain in Northern California. Then we go, he said. None of them knew it yet, but at that exact moment, far beneath Mount Shasta, something deep in the earth responded. The frequency rose again, slowly, patiently, as if the mountain had just realized someone was listening. They left before sunrise. Stanford was still asleep. Streetlights glowed pale against the fog. The campus building stood silent, like stone witnesses watching them go. Marcus drove. Aaron sat beside him with a tablet full of seismic data. Emilia sat in the back seat, staring at the mountain on the horizon map. The signal had continued all night. Not chaotic, not random, still rhythmic, and still slowly accelerating. 8.3 hertz, no earthquake, no eruption, no known geological process behaved like that, which meant something else was happening. The highway carried them north. Cities faded behind them. Concrete became farmland. Farmland became forest. The air grew colder, the sky wider, the roads narrower. After several hours, the traffic disappeared completely. Only long, empty stretches of road remained, cutting through endless pine forests. Marcus finally spoke. I've studied volcanoes for 20 years, he said. I've never seen a signal like this. Aaron scrolled through the data again. The pattern is too clean, he replied. Natural systems are messy. Emilia looked up. And living systems are organized. Neither of them answered. The mountain appeared just after noon. At first, it was only a white triangle on the horizon. Small, distant, almost unreal. But as they drove closer, it began to dominate the landscape. Mount Shasta rose from the forest like a frozen wave, perfectly symmetrical, snow glowing under the cold winter sun. Emilia felt something strange in her chest, a quiet pressure, almost like standing too close to a powerful speaker. Marcus noticed her expression. You feeling that? He asked. She nodded slowly. Yes. Aaron looked up from the tablet. I thought it was just the car vibration. Emilia opened the portable sensor. The display flickered. Numbers stabilized. 8.7 hertz. Aaron leaned closer. It's stronger here, he said quietly. Marcus pulled the vehicle onto a small gravel road leading deeper into the forest. Tall pine trees closed around them. Their branches blocked most of the sunlight. The world became darker, quieter, and something else changed. Sound. The forest seemed to absorb it. The engine noise felt strangely muted. Their footsteps felt softer. Even the wind seemed to disappear, as if the mountain preferred silence. They reached a clearing near the northern slope. Snow covered the ground in uneven patches. Dark volcanic rock pushed through the white surface like bones beneath skin. Marcus shut off the engine. The sudden silence felt heavy, not peaceful, not natural, intentional. Emilia stepped out of the vehicle. Cold air filled her lungs, and beneath that cold air, she felt it again, a vibration, not in the ground, in her ribs, in her teeth, in the hollow spaces of her body. She turned on the detector. The number flashed. 8.9 hertz. Aaron stepped beside her. That frequency, he whispered, that's close to human resonance. Emilia nodded slowly. Low-frequency vibration can travel through bone, she said. If it's strong enough, the body becomes a receiver. Marcus looked toward the mountain. Its white slopes rose silently above the forest. Receiver for what? He asked. Amelia didn't answer, because at that exact moment, the sky above the summit changed. A smooth white cloud began forming over the peak, not drifting, not stretching, growing, perfectly round, perfectly still, a lenticular cloud. Aaron stared upward. That's fast, he said. Marcus frowned. They form here sometimes, he replied, but not like that. The cloud became larger, smoother, almost metallic in its shape, like a giant lid hovering above the mountain. Emilia felt the vibration grow slightly stronger. 8.9. Then 8.92. The difference was tiny, almost nothing, but it was accelerating. Aaron looked back at the sensor. Emilia, he said quietly, it's responding. Responding to what? Marcus asked. Aaron looked around the silent forest, then at the mountain, then at the detector in Emilia's hand. And for the first time since they left Stanford, fear appeared in his voice. Us! Far above them, the lenticular cloud finished forming. Perfect, motionless, like an eye slowly closing over the summit. And deep beneath Mount Shasta, something enormous shifted in its sleep. The pulse rose again, patient, curious, listening. Night came quickly in the mountains. The sun disappeared behind the western ridges, and the forest sank into shadow. Tall pines swallowed the last light of the sky. Cold air rolled down the slopes of Mount Shasta like a slow, invisible river. Their small camp stood in a clearing surrounded by dark trees. A portable seismic sensor rested on a flat rock. Its small display glowed faintly in the darkness. Marcus finished securing the equipment cables. Aaron sat beside the sensor, studying the waveform on his tablet. Amelia stood at the edge of the clearing, looking toward the mountain. Something about the forest felt wrong. Not dangerous, not hostile, just different. The usual sounds of wilderness were missing. No distant birds, no insects, no wind moving through the branches. The forest seemed to be holding its breath. Marcus finally broke the silence. You notice it too? He asked. Emilia nodded slowly. It's too quiet. Aaron glanced up from the tablet. The signal is stronger tonight, he said quietly. Marcus walked over to the sensor. The number flickered. 8.9 hertz. He frowned. That's not a normal seismic pattern, he said. Emilia stepped closer. Low frequencies like that could travel through the ground for hundreds of kilometers, but this signal felt different. She didn't just see it on the screen. She felt it. A faint vibration in her chest, a subtle pressure behind her teeth. Aaron noticed her expression. You feeling it? He asked. Emilia hesitated, then nodded. Yes. Marcus looked between them. Feeling what? The signal, Aaron replied. It's resonating. Marcus crossed his arms. With what? Amelia took a slow breath. With us. The three of them stood silently for a moment. Then Aaron looked up at the sky. Emilia, he said. She followed his gaze. Above the peak of Mount Shasta, something was forming. A cloud, but not like normal clouds. It was smooth, perfectly curved, like a giant lens floating above the summit. A lenticular cloud. Marcus watched it grow. I've seen those before, he said, but not this fast. The cloud thickened. Its edges became smooth and defined. It hovered above the mountain without moving, like a lid placed gently over the summit. Emilia felt the vibration again. Stronger now, not painful, but unmistakable. The sensor beeped softly. 893 hertz. Aaron stared at the numbers. It's accelerating again. Marcus rubbed the back of his neck. I don't like this, he muttered. Amelia turned away from the mountain. The vibration inside her chest had begun to change. At first it was just a physical sensation, but now something else was happening. Her mind was trying to interpret it. Low frequencies can affect the human nervous system. They travel through bone, through organs, through the inner ear. And when the brain receives a signal it cannot hear, it tries to translate it. At first it was only a feeling, then an image. Not a clear picture, more like the shadow of a memory. Something enormous, coiled deep beneath layers of rock, sleeping, slow breathing, slow movement. Emilia suddenly inhaled sharply. Aaron noticed immediately. "What is it?" She looked at him, her eyes wide. "I think," she whispered, "I think the signal isn't random." Marcus frowned. "What do you mean?" Amelia struggled to explain. "It's not just vibration," she said. "It's information." Aaron stared at her. "You're saying the Earth is sending a signal?" Emilia shook her head slowly. "No." She turned toward Mount Shasta again. The massive white mountain glowed faintly under the moonlight. The lenticular cloud hung above it like a silent guardian. "Something inside the Earth is." The forest suddenly felt colder. Marcus glanced toward the tree line. For a moment he thought he saw movement between the trunks, but when he looked again, nothing was there. Just darkness. Aaron closed the tablet slowly. "Maybe we should get some sleep," he said. "We can analyze the data in the morning." Marcus nodded. "Yeah." But none of them felt tired. The vibration continued. Soft, persistent. 894 hertz. Hours passed. The moon rose higher above the forest. Mist drifted slowly between the trees. Inside her tent, Emilia lay awake staring at the fabric ceiling. The vibration had not stopped. If anything, it was stronger. Her ribs felt like they were being gently tapped from inside. Then something strange happened. The rhythm of the signal began to match her breathing. Inhale. The vibration increased slightly. Exhale. It softened again. Amelia sat up slowly. Her heart was beating faster now. She reached for the detector beside her sleeping bag. The screen flickered. 897 hertz. Outside the tent, the forest remained silent. Too silent. Then Amelia heard something. Not a sound exactly. More like voices. Low, distant, rhythmic. She stepped outside the tent. Cold mist wrapped around the clearing. Moonlight filtered through the branches above. Marcus was already standing near the sensor. Aaron stood beside him. Both of them were staring toward the forest. "You hear it too," Marcus said quietly. Emilia nodded. From deep among the trees, a slow rhythmic sound drifted through the darkness. Not words, not quite music. A chant. Aaron swallowed. "That's not wind." The chanting grew slightly louder. Slow, measured, ancient. Then shapes appeared between the trees. Human shapes, figures moving silently through the forest. Marcus stepped forward instinctively. "Who's there?" he called. The chanting stopped. The figures emerged from the darkness one by one. Men, women, their faces calm, their movements deliberate. And at the front of them stood a tall man with a gray braid over his shoulder. His eyes moved slowly across the clearing, then settled on the seismic sensor. He spoke in a quiet voice. "You should not have come." The vibration beneath their feet rose again. 898 hertz, and far above them. The silent cloud above Mount Shasta remained perfectly still, like an eye that had just opened. The forest remained silent. Even the mist seemed to stop moving. The figures stepped out from between the trees one by one, not rushing, not threatening, just walking slowly into the clearing. There were more of them than the scientists expected. Men, women, all dressed in simple, dark mountain clothing. Their movements were calm, deliberate, like people who already knew why they had come. At the front of the group stood a tall man with a gray braid falling over his shoulder. His face was weathered, his eyes calm and steady. Beside him stood a woman with long dark hair and pale, intense eyes. She watched the scientists with a quiet focus. Marcus took a step forward. "Who are you?" he asked. The tall man studied the seismic sensor glowing on the rock. Then he looked up at Mount Shasta. Only after several seconds did he answer. "My name is Ko." His voice was calm, almost gentle. The woman beside him spoke next. "And I am Lena." Her voice was quieter, but somehow carried more weight. Aaron glanced nervously at Amelia. "You live out here?" he asked. Ko nodded slowly. "For a very long time." Marcus gestured toward the equipment. "We're scientists," he said. "We're studying a seismic signal." Ko looked at him with mild curiosity. "Yes," he said. "You are listening." The way he said it made Amelia uneasy. Not accusing, not surprised, just certain. Lena stepped closer to the seismic sensor. Her pale eyes studied the display. The number flickered. 899 hertz. She looked up at Amelia. "You should turn that off," she said. Marcus frowned. "Why?" Lena's gaze moved slowly toward the mountain. "Because it hears you." The three scientists exchanged glances. Aaron spoke carefully. "That's not possible," he said. "This is just ground vibration." Ko shook his head gently. "No," he said. "It is not just ground vibration." He looked directly at Amelia. "You have already felt it." Amelia felt a sudden chill. She hadn't told them about the resonance in her chest or the strange images in her mind. "How do you know that?" she asked quietly. Kaio's expression remained calm. "Because everyone who listens long enough feels it." The lenticular cloud above Mount Shasta remained perfectly still. Moonlight reflected softly across its smooth surface. Lena followed Amelia's gaze upward. "You see the cloud?" she said. Amelia nodded. Lena continued speaking. "That is the first sign." Marcus crossed his arms. "What sign?" Lena's eyes returned to the seismic display. "That the mountain is beginning to breathe." The number changed again. 9.0 hertz, Aaron noticed immediately. "It's increasing again," he said. Marcus looked back at Ko. "You know about this signal?" Ko nodded. "Yes, for generations." Amelia stepped forward. "You've measured it before?" she asked. Ko smiled faintly. "We did not have machines." He gestured toward the forest, toward the mountain. "We had other ways of listening." The cold wind moved quietly through the trees. Lena spoke again. "Long before your universities existed, the people of this mountain knew something lived beneath the stone." Aaron frowned. "You mean magma?" he asked. Ko shook his head slowly. "Something older." The forest seemed darker suddenly. Even the moonlight felt dimmer. Amelia felt the vibration again. Stronger now, like a slow pulse moving through the ground. "What exactly do you think is down there?" Marcus asked. Ko looked up at Mount Shasta once more. The huge white mountain glowed faintly in the moonlight. Then he said something that made all three scientists uneasy. "The Earth," he said quietly, "is not sleeping stone." He turned his gaze back toward them. "It is a living body." Aaron opened his mouth to respond, but Ko continued. "Mountains are bones, rivers are blood, and deep beneath the crust—" He paused. "The fire moves like a heart." Marcus shook his head. "That's mythology," he said. Ko did not argue. Instead, he pointed slowly toward the seismic display. The number flickered again. 902 hertz. "You see the pulse," he said. "Your machines see it. We feel it." Lena stepped closer to Amelia. Her voice was almost a whisper. "And tonight, it is waking." The forest suddenly felt colder. Aaron looked back toward the mountain. "Waking?" he repeated. Ko nodded. "Yes. And when the pulse reaches a certain point, the mountain opens." Marcus laughed softly. You mean an eruption? Keo's eyes remained calm. No, he said. Not an eruption. Something deep beneath the ground shifted. The scientists felt it through their boots, through the soil, through the air. The seismic detector beeped softly. 9.04 hertz. The lenticular cloud above Mount Shasta slowly thickened. Its edges became smoother, more defined, like a giant lid sealing the sky. Emilia felt the strange pressure inside her chest again, stronger than before. What happens when it opens? She asked quietly. For the first time, Keo's calm expression changed slightly. Something like sadness appeared in his eyes. It asked for balance, he said. Aaron frowned. What does that mean? Keo looked at the three scientists, then at the mountain, then back at them again. It means, he said softly, that someone must go below. The forest remained still, too still. The mist drifted slowly between the trees, glowing faintly in the moonlight. Mount Shasta towered above them, silent and immense. The lenticular cloud above the summit had grown thicker, its edges smooth, perfect, like a lid closing over the sky. Amelia felt the vibration again, stronger now, persistent, not just in the ground. Inside her chest, the seismic sensor beeped softly. 9.06 hertz. Aaron looked down at the display. His voice was barely above a whisper. It's still rising. Marcus turned toward Keo. You said the mountain opens, he said. What does that mean? Keo did not answer immediately. Instead, he looked toward Lena. She stepped forward slowly. The mist curled around her dark cloak. The earth is alive, she said quietly. Not alive the way animals are alive, but alive the way oceans breathe, the way forests grow. She pointed toward the mountain. Deep beneath this place, there is a sleeping force. Amelia felt something move again beneath the ground. A slow pulse, like a giant heartbeat buried under miles of stone. Lena continued speaking. Our ancestors called it the fire serpent, the coil of living magma beneath the bones of the world. Aaron swallowed. You're talking about volcanic pressure, he said. Lena shook her head slowly. No, she said. We are talking about something older. The seismic sensor beeped again. 9.12 hertz. Marcus watched the number change. His expression tightened. What happens when the pulse gets too high? He asked. Keo answered this time. The mountain opens. Emilia felt a chill run through her body. Opens? How? She asked. Keo looked at the ground beneath their feet. Like a mouth. The forest seemed darker suddenly. Lena knelt slowly on the cold ground. From a small leather pouch, she removed a handful of dark red powder. Ochre! She began drawing a circle in the soil. The red earth stood out sharply against the pale snow. One circle, then another, then a third. Marcus stepped closer. What are you doing? He asked. Lena continued drawing, her movements calm and deliberate. Balance, she said. The other guardians stepped into the clearing. Each of them carried small pouches of the same red powder. They began drawing symbols around the circles. Spirals, lines, ancient shapes that looked strangely like waveforms. Aaron stared at them. They're drawing frequencies, he whispered. Emilia felt the vibration growing stronger again. The sensor beeped. 9.18 hertz. The guardians formed a wide ring around the circles. Keo stepped into the center. Then the chanting began. Low, slow, rhythmic. Not words exactly, more like tones, deep vibrations that moved through the air, through the soil, through the bones. Amelia felt it instantly. The chanting was matching the seismic frequency. Aaron looked at the detector. His eyes widened. They're synchronizing with it, he said. Marcus shook his head in disbelief. That's impossible. But the numbers on the display continued to rise. 9.24, 9.31. The chanting deepened. Two groups of voices now, one holding a low tone, Another answering slightly higher. Counterphase, like two waves shaping the same signal. Aaron whispered again. They're controlling it. The ground beneath the clearing trembled slightly. Not violently, just enough to feel. Emilia felt pressure building in her chest. Her breathing had begun to match the rhythm of the chant. The seismic detector beeped again. 9.46 hertz. The mist in the forest began to swirl. Slow spirals forming between the trees. Above the mountain, the strange cloud thickened further. Marcus stared at the ground. "Do you feel that?" he asked. Emilia nodded. It felt like something deep below them had shifted. A slow turning, a massive movement. The chanting grew louder. The guardians' voices merged into a single resonant tone. The sensor beeped again. 9.63. Aaron stepped back. "We need to stop this," he said. But the chanting did not stop. The circles of red ochre glowed faintly in the moonlight. Lena stood slowly. Her pale eyes looked toward the mountain. "It is almost awake," she said quietly. The ground suddenly trembled again. Stronger this time. A deep cracking sound echoed through the forest. Marcus turned toward the slope of Mount Shasta. "Emilia," he whispered. She followed his gaze. The earth was moving. A long, dark line appeared in the snow-covered ground. At first it looked like a shadow. Then the shadow widened. Stone shifted, soil cracked. The ground was opening, slowly, deliberately, like a seam being pulled apart. Heat rose from the darkness below. Red light flickered from deep underground. The seismic detector screamed softly. 978 hertz. The chanting reached its peak. The ground split wider. Steam and glowing vapor burst into the cold night air. Marcus stepped back in shock. "That's not an eruption," he said. Emilia stared into the glowing fissure. Her voice was barely audible. "No," she whispered. "It's a mouth." The earth continued to open. Not violently. Not like an explosion. Slowly, deliberately. Like something beneath the mountain had decided to breathe. The fissure widened. Dark stone split apart under the moonlight. Hot vapor rolled upward from the depths. A deep red glow flickered below the surface, like the heartbeat of a furnace hidden far beneath the world. Emilia stepped closer to the edge before she realized what she was doing. Heat touched her face. Warm, moist, alive. The air smelled of sulfur and something else, something metallic. Marcus grabbed her arm. "Careful," he said. They both stared down into the glowing darkness. The fissure did not look like a normal volcanic vent. Its walls were smooth, curving inward, almost organic, like the inside of a throat. Aaron looked at the seismic detector. The number trembled on the screen. 982 hertz. "It's still rising," he whispered. Behind them the chanting changed. The tone deepened. Slower now, more powerful. The guardians stepped closer to the red circles, their voices merging into a single vibrating chord. Caio stepped forward, his eyes fixed on the opening in the ground. "The mouth is open," he said quietly. Marcus turned sharply. "What mouth?" Caio looked at him with calm patience. "The mountain." Lena stepped toward the scientist. Her pale eyes reflected the red light rising from the fissure. "It will not remain open for long," she said. Aaron frowned. "What do you mean?" Lena did not answer. Instead, she nodded toward the guardians. Two of them stepped forward carrying thick leather straps. Marcus immediately stepped back. "What are you doing?" he demanded. But the vibration beneath their feet surged again, a powerful pulse rising from deep below. Emilia felt it in her ribs. Her breathing suddenly matched its rhythm. Inhale, pulse, exhale, pulse. The chanting shifted again. Two groups of voices now, one deep, one slightly higher. Counterphase. Aaron's eyes widened. "They're stabilizing the frequency," he whispered. The detector beeped again. 987 hertz. The ground trembled slightly. Steam burst from the fissure in slow-rolling clouds. Marcus grabbed Amelia's arm again. "We need to leave," he said, but the forest behind them had changed. The Guardians had formed a wide ring around the clearing, silent, watching. Lena stepped closer. Her voice was calm, almost kind. "The pulse cannot rise further," she said. "Balance must be restored." Marcus stared at her. "Balance," Ko answered. "When the earth shifts, weight must move with it." Aaron shook his head. "You're talking about some kind of sacrifice," he said. Ko did not deny it. He simply looked toward the glowing fissure. "Not sacrifice," he said quietly. "Anchors." The leather straps tightened around Marcus's wrists before he realized what was happening. He struggled immediately. "Hey, what are you doing?" But the vibration surged again. The sound filled the clearing like a deep, invisible drum. 991 hertz. Aaron tried to step forward, but suddenly his legs felt heavy, unresponsive. Emilia felt it too. The resonance had grown stronger, much stronger. Her body no longer felt entirely under her control. The chanting deepened again, slower, more powerful. The fissure widened further. Red light flooded the clearing. From deep below, a massive movement rolled through the stone. Not a collapse, not an eruption, a shift, like something enormous turning in its sleep. The seismic detector screamed softly. 9.96 hertz. Marcus stopped struggling. Not because he wanted to, because he couldn't. His muscles trembled, frozen between motion and stillness. Aaron whispered hoarsely, "The resonance, it's controlling our nervous system." Emilia's heart pounded in her chest, but the rhythm beneath the ground was stronger. Ko stepped toward the fissure. The red glow illuminated his face. "For thousands of years," he said quietly, "this mountain has slept." He looked back at the three scientists. "But sometimes, the pulse rises too high." Lena stepped beside him. "And when it does, someone must go below." Steam burst upward again from the fissure, hot air rushing into the cold forest night. The chanting reached a deep, vibrating peak. The leather straps tightened. Marcus stared at the glowing abyss. "You can't be serious," he said. Ko looked at him with quiet sadness. "It is the only way," he said. Emilia looked down into the fissure again as the red light pulsed, slow, rhythmic, and for the first time, she realized something. That glow was not just molten rock, it moved, like coils of fire turning slowly through darkness. Something enormous shifted far below. The ground trembled again. 999 hertz. Aaron's voice trembled. "What is that?" Lena's pale eyes reflected the molten glow. Her answer came softly, "The heart of the earth." The chanting stopped. For one moment, the forest was silent again. Then Ko spoke a single word. "Lower them." The ropes tightened. Marcus felt the ground disappear beneath his feet. The red glow from the fissure surrounded him as the Guardians slowly lowered him into the darkness. Cold night air faded. Hot vapor rose from below. Emilia watched in horror as Marcus disappeared into the glowing mist. "Marcus!" she shouted, but the chanting had started again. Low, slow, unstoppable. Aaron tried to move toward the edge of the fissure, but the resonance held him in place. The vibration beneath the ground had become overwhelming. Every breath matched the pulse. Every heartbeat echoed the rhythm rising from the depths. The seismic detector in Aaron's hand flashed wildly. 998 hertz. Marcus's boots touched stone, far below the surface of the mountain. He looked around slowly. The cavern stretched far beyond the reach of the faint red glow. Huge, ancient. Walls of dark volcanic rock curved inward, like the inside of some enormous living chamber. But something about the stone was wrong. It wasn't jagged. It wasn't rough. It was smooth, polished by heat and time, like the inside of a giant bone. The ropes lowered Aaron next, then Amelia. Their feet touched the cavern floor beside Marcus. For several seconds, none of them spoke. The silence below the mountain felt heavier than the forest above. Then the ground pulsed again. A deep vibration rolled through the chamber. The cavern walls flickered faintly. At first, Amelia thought it was just reflections from the magma below. But then she saw the light more clearly. Thin, glowing lines inside the rock. Red, orange, gold, veins of crystal embedded deep in the stone. Aaron stepped closer to the wall. "That's not magma," he whispered. Amelia reached out slowly. Her fingers brushed the glowing mineral surface. Warm, not burning, but alive with energy. Marcus looked deeper into the cavern. "What is this place?" he said quietly. The answer came from behind them. Caio's voice echoed softly through the chamber. "This is Telos." The guardians had descended silently after them. Lena stepped forward into the glowing mineral light. "For thousands of years," she said, "this place has held the balance of the mountain." Aaron looked around in disbelief. "This isn't a city," he said. "No," Lena replied. "It only appears that way to human eyes." The cavern extended into several tunnels branching into the darkness. Massive arching chambers connected like corridors. But none of it had been carved. It had grown. The structures looked less like buildings and more like the internal structure of a living organism. Marcus stared at the glowing veins in the walls. "Those crystals," he said, "they're conducting energy." Lena nodded slowly. "Yes, the mountain listens through them." Another deep vibration rolled through the cavern. Stronger now. The glowing mineral veins brightened, and something moved deeper in the chamber. At first it looked like shifting shadows. Then the shapes became clearer. Tall figures, standing motionless in the glowing mineral light. Emilia felt her breath catch. The figures were not human. Their bodies were composed of layered mineral plates, dark stone threaded with glowing veins of red light. Their forms resembled tall silhouettes, almost humanoid, but not quite, like statues carved from living crystal. Aaron whispered hoarsely, "What are they?" Lena's voice remained calm. "They are the keepers." The mineral beings turned slowly toward the scientists. Their bodies emitted a faint, resonant vibration. Emilia felt it instantly. Her chest tightened. Aaron looked down at the detector. The number flickered wildly. 8.9 hertz. "They're emitting the signal," he whispered. The beings stepped closer. Not walking exactly. Their forms seemed to shift through the glowing mineral floor, like energy moving through stone. Marcus took a step back. "This is impossible." One of the beings stopped directly in front of Amelia. Its body glowed faintly with the same rhythm she had felt all night. The same pulse, the same frequency. 8.9 hertz. Then the knowledge came again. Not words, not a voice. A translation inside her mind. Pressure, image, emotion, meaning. A vision formed inside her thoughts, deep beneath the cavern, far below the mineral chambers. Something enormous moved, a vast spiral of molten fire, coiled, breathing slowly, turning through endless layers of stone. Aaron suddenly gasped. "You see it too," he whispered. Emilia nodded slowly. "The signal," she said. "It's not coming from the crust." She looked deeper into the glowing cavern. "It's coming from the core." Another massive pulse rolled through the mountain. The cavern trembled. The mineral beings brightened. And Lena finally spoke the truth the legends had tried to describe for centuries. "The earth," she said quietly, "has a heart." The cavern trembled again. A slow vibration rolled through the glowing mineral walls. The tall beings of stone and light remained motionless, watching. Their bodies pulsed gently with the same rhythm that had followed the scientists since they arrived at the mountain. 8.9 hertz, the steady signal beneath the earth, the pulse of the living planet. Emilia felt the pressure build again inside her mind. The strange knowledge returned, stronger now, clearer. Images formed behind her eyes, layers of stone, miles of rock, deep tunnels of heat, and far below, something vast, something ancient, a spiral of molten fire turning slowly through the darkness of the planet's interior. Aaron gasped quietly. "I see it," he whispered. Marcus stared into the glowing cavern. "You see what?" Aaron's voice trembled. "The signal. It's not just vibration. It's a heartbeat." Another deep pulse rolled through the cavern. The mineral veins brightened, their glowing lines running through the rock like arteries carrying energy. Lena stepped beside them. Her pale eyes reflected the red light from deep within the mountain. "For thousands of years," she said quietly, "our people have guarded this place." Marcus looked at her. "Guarded it from what?" Lena did not answer immediately. Instead, she pointed toward the deep chamber below. The red glow there grew brighter, steam and heat rising slowly through the tunnels. "The earth is not dead stone," she said. "It is a living body." She pointed to the cavern walls. "These chambers are its bones." She pointed to the glowing mineral veins. "These crystals are its nerves." Then she pointed deeper, toward the glowing abyss beneath Telos. "And the fire below," she whispered, "is its heart." The mountain trembled again, stronger this time. Marcus stepped closer to the edge of the glowing chamber. The light from below illuminated his face. "What exactly is down there?" he asked. Kaio answered. His voice echoed softly in the cavern. "The first fire, the coil that moves beneath the crust of the world, the force that shapes continents and raises mountains." Aaron's eyes widened. "You mean the Earth's core," he said. Kaio shook his head slowly. "No, the core is only the center. What lies beneath these mountains is older." The cavern floor pulsed again, and suddenly the glow below shifted. The molten light moved, not like flowing lava, like something breathing. A massive spiral of fire rolled slowly through the depths. Emilia felt her breath stop. "It's alive," she whispered. Lena nodded. "Our ancestors called it the fire serpent, the dragon beneath the bones of the world." The image formed again inside Emilia's mind, a vast coil of molten magma encircling the planet's inner layers, turning slowly, breathing slowly, the living engine of the Earth. Marcus shook his head in disbelief. "That's impossible." But the cavern trembled again, the pulse rising. 9.1 hertz. The mineral beings stepped closer, their glowing bodies brightening. Aaron looked at the seismic detector. The numbers were rising again. 9.2. 9.3. "The balance isn't restored," he whispered. Kaio's expression grew heavy. "No," he said. "The mountain still calls." Emilia suddenly understood. The knowledge inside her mind became clear. "The anchors," she said quietly. Kaio looked at her. "Yes. When the pulse grows too strong, the mountain asks for balance." Lena stepped closer. "3 anchors," she said. Marcus looked between them. "What does that mean?" The answer came not from Lena, but from the mineral beings. Their glowing bodies pulsed once. A powerful wave of resonance filled the cavern, and the knowledge entered Emilia's mind completely. Not fear, not pain, understanding. "They're not sacrifices," she whispered. "They become part of the system." Aaron looked at her slowly. "What system?" Emilia turned toward the glowing mineral beings. "The Earth's nervous system." Another pulse rolled through the cavern. The molten spiral below shifted again, the fire serpent turning slowly beneath the planet. Lena stepped forward. For thousands of years, she said softly, those who are chosen become the keepers. Marcus looked at the mineral beings again. Realization spread across his face. You mean, he said quietly, they were human once. Ko nodded. Yes, the mountain remembers them. The mineral beings stepped closer, their glowing forms surrounding the three scientists. The resonance deepened. Emilia felt her heartbeat merge with the planetary rhythm, slow, powerful, ancient. The knowledge came one final time, not a warning, an invitation. The Earth was not killing them, it was translating them, turning their consciousness into anchors within the living system of the planet. The pulse slowed, 9.0, 8.9. The mountain was calming, the fire serpent returning to sleep. Emilia looked once more at Marcus, then at Aaron. Neither of them spoke. They already understood. The mineral beings reached forward, their glowing hands touching the scientist gently. The light grew brighter, warmer, and the last thing Emilia felt was the steady pulse of the earth, not beneath her feet, but within her. The cavern slowly grew quiet. The molten spiral deep below the mountain turned once more, then settled. The pulse stabilized. 8.9 hertz, far above. The forest on the slopes of Mount Shasta stood silent under the night sky. The lenticular clouds slowly dissolved. The mountain closed its eye, and deep beneath the stone, three new guardians joined the living heart of the earth. A week later, rangers found the camp, tents still standing, equipment protected under tarps, food sealed, batteries charged, no sign of struggle, no bodies, no tracks leading away. Search teams called it a disappearance. Authorities called it an accident. The university called it a tragedy. The public called it another mystery. But Stanford's sensor network recorded something that night. Not an earthquake, not a tremor, a perfect, brief signal on a narrow band. 8.9 hertz, and then three tiny spikes in the waveform, repeating, precise, like signatures. Not words, not voices, but unmistakably intentional, as if three presences had learned how to press a fingertip against the Earth's nervous system. Marcus, Aaron, Emilia, not speaking, not screaming, holding. Sometimes, late at night, a graduate student monitoring the network will notice the waveform and feel an irrational chill. And if they stare too long at the line, they describe the same strange sensation. Not that the Earth is moving, but that the Earth is aware of being watched. And above Mount Shasta, on certain nights, a lenticular cloud forms again. Still, smooth, like a lid. Anyone who camps too close to the mountain will wake in the middle of the night with pressure in their chest, a gentle vibration in their teeth, a pulse that slowly tries to match their breathing. Because the note is still there, the mouth still exists, and the dragon, the magma dragon that coils around the planet like a burning spine, is still asleep. For now. Because three new anchors have joined the system. Because three scientists became part of the Earth. Not as victims, as components, as guardians, as living proof that the planet is not a rock floating in space, but a body tuned to the cosmos. And when the cosmos changes, the Earth will tune itself again. And if the pulse rises too high, if the third lens forms in the sky, the mountain will open its mouth and it will ask for weight, because parasites do not get to live forever on a body that finally wakes. Dear friends, if you enjoy the stories on our channel, please consider subscribing. Leave a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our upcoming stories and new releases. Your support truly means a lot and helps the channel grow and continue creating. Thank you very much for watching.